Oh, yeah. This is the one I wanted to look at. This was crazy. So I talked about this a little bit. I'm glad more people are bringing it up now. Thank fucking God people are actually bringing this up. Japan is being forced to censor anime and manga.
Japan is being forced to censor manga and anime? It's time for the latest news out of Japan. If you were to ask a dedicated fan of anime and manga, what is a word worse than death? They'd give you a quick and
Employment.
simple answer. Censorship. Adult content is a huge part of Japanese entertainment
Yeah, okay, censorship, sure.
culture, especially when it comes down to drawn or animated media like anime and manga. Whether it comes in the form of extreme violence, mild and comedic displays of nudity, or full-blown R-rated scenery, adult content is something that's naturally ingrained into Japanese media. But unfortunately, not every country which anime and manga are distributed to supports these spicy additions. And as such, there have been several cases where anime and manga have been censored to suit the ideologies of several countries.
I actually don't have a problem with countries that want to make laws against certain things, because like if you want to sell a product in a country, your product has to follow that country's laws, right? Like that's just how it is. The problem is whenever private companies are trying to make the rules themselves.
Example, the Mitsuri bat scene in Demon Slayer where her bare back and chests were shown was censored in the Chinese version, as she was seen wearing a towel in that scene. Fans didn't pay much mind to it and instead found some of these cases funny, such as when the Malaysian version of Attack on Titan had the Titans, which were normally bare-skinned, wearing tight pants.
That is weird, bro. Like, why is he wearing swim trunks? What the fuck? What is this? So, what the hell?
Little did they know that things would eventually blow up in an aggravating way. During the final days of October, the United Nations pitched the idea of censoring or even banning anime and manga based on the idea that these forms of media were promoting gender stereotypes and violence.
I love how the idea of promoting gender stereotypes is bad. Like, it's such a stupid premise. It's coming to Japan. Yeah, it's just so, yeah, how so? Because there's nothing wrong with having of course there's a stereotype for genders, because people are different. Duh.
Towards women and children. Many fans voiced their discomfort with that development, claiming it was wrong on so many different levels.
Oh, yeah.
But things still took a turn for the worse, because recently it was discovered that Western credit card companies such as Visa and MasterCard are now dissociating themselves from anime and manga sites in an
This is something that is not unique to anime and manga, and credit processing companies have done this with a lot of things previously. They've done it with certain websites they didn't like, and they've also done it with other adult content that they have arbitrarily decided to not do business with. So the reason why this is bad is because all of these companies are acting like a cartel. I don't think that anybody has a problem with one company not wanting to serve a certain type of business, but when every single company works in unison to not serve that business, to effectively leave them out of the global market, that is collusion, it is corruption, and it is a cartel. And so that's really what the problem is.
Attempt to force them to censor their content. Ken Akamatsu, the creator of Love Hina, was unfortunately a victim of this, as his manga site Manga Z was forced to shut down due to these credit card companies pulling away.
That's
In
right.
his official statement on Twitter, he said, the website Manga Library Z...
Same with weed stores, yeah. And I don't want you guys to think that this is something that's unique to like some sort of like social political thing. They do this with basic porn. They do it with drugs. They do it with weed. I mean, you can argue whether that's a drug or not. I don't want to get into that. But like either way, they've done this with a lot of other instances before. I wonder who's in these banking institutions to leave money on the table for this. I'm not sure why they're doing it. I have no idea. It doesn't really matter why they're doing it.
Formerly known as J. Comey, which I founded 14 years ago, had decided to cease operations on November 26th. Although I have already stepped down from management, I'm writing this announcement on behalf of the team. About Manga Library Z. Manga Library Z is an ad-supported platform that provides out-of-print manga as free digital content, generating ad revenue to compensate creators. Server and operational costs were mainly covered by fees from premium members. Reasons for the shutdown. The immediate cause of the suspension is that our payment processor has notified us that they are terminating all payment services beyond credit card payments, which includes other methods. Suddenly, all credit card providers, including JCB, became unusable, and other payment...
That's the problem. That right there is the issue. It's not that some of them do it, it's that all of them do it. This is a huge issue, and it's a form of soft power that these companies have that is kind of invisible to a lot of people. That should be illegal. I would argue that it already is. I bet it probably already is illegal. For adult sites, usually payment processors just apply higher processing rates instead of just outright stopping service. Well, I think that also should be illegal. Yeah, what are we talking about? So, like, all the payment processors, they're, like, saying, well, we're going to charge you extra for, like, some bullshit reason. Why do that? To make more money. Because they're squeezing them for money. It's straight-up mafia tactics. I don't even see how this is a conversation.
Options, except for BidCash, were also rendered non-functional. On top of that, even payments for past months were withheld, so we were unable to cover server costs due to the lack of incoming premium member fees. After careful consideration, the Manga Library Z team determined that running the site solely on BitCash revenue was unsustainable. Even if a new payment processor was found, similar issues could arise again, and selectively removing content to stay operational was undesirable.
So and you see how this happens, right? You see how this company is using their power as a processor to exercise censorial powers over this website. They are using this as an editorial tool to do this.
We reached the decision to suspend the site. We apologize for the suddenness of the situation and for yielding to the control of the payment provider, which left us with little time to respond.
I really hope this won't happen. I really hope that, you know, someone around Trump, like whether it's Elon Musk or somebody, finds out about this so they can start holding these companies accountable. Because this will happen to people that go against the political grain as well. It absolutely will, because there's no reason for it not to go that way. Speedrunning dystopian corporate nightmare? No, it's actually been going on. JD Vance is young enough to watch anime, right? Yeah, for sure. Somebody needs to make sure that they fucking know about this. Because this is a huge issue. It'll be Charles Dickinson says working on DC yesterday. He'll advise them. I hope so. They did it to Alex Jones. They've done it to other people as well, too.
However, through this experience, we have gained insights on the grounds for declaring payment service suspensions, the severity and duration of associated penalties, and potential countermeasures. In the past, for example, Love Hina was banned and later reinstated in Apple's ebook app, a situation that became a valuable case in protecting freedom of expression. We continue to refer to these kinds of special cases in discussions about protecting free expression. Recently,
and the reason why it's really important is that once a company reaches a certain market share in a product market, like, for example, like Windows, or for example, like how many of you guys have one company that you're paying your internet to, or you're paying your power to, or your water service to? A lot of you guys probably have that, your cell phone. Yeah, maybe there's only one in the area. Well, most of the time, monopolies like that can exist, but they need to be regulated and held accountable by the government. So the problem isn't necessarily that there's a monopoly. Monopolies actually exist, but they are counterbalanced with like a degree of accountability from the government. And when you remove that accountability, like what this has done, you have a huge, huge, huge problem. That's where the issue is. It's that these people are operating and they're completely controlling a market space that is effectively a gatekeeper to business. So they can exercise subjective decision-making.
Stricter conditions and penalties have emerged from payment service providers, posing a growing threat to not only ebooks, but to the Japanese content industry as a whole. We intend to develop more accurate countermeasures as a platform that has been directly affected. We appreciate your support in this endeavor. So, There's a lot to unpack in this message, but the
Yeah.
main point is that his manga site is being forced to shut down based on their inability to make money. And
Yes,
the cause
that's
of
correct.
that is, of course, the fact that the Western credit card companies they were aligned with chose to step away from them. This is a very terrible situation, and anime fans are absolutely furious about this incident.
Here's the problem, is that some people might be like, oh, I don't like anime, this is good. Companies will do this collectively and selectively whenever they want. Isn't the company hosting manga online illegally? Boycotting a company doing illegal stuff is fine, isn't it? I don't know. I'd have to look and see what it is. Yeah, I need a neutral international payment method that isn't crypto. Yeah, I think so too. Then find a different payment method. Well, here's the problem, is that when all of the major competitors inside of a market space all behave like a cartel and exercise unilateral control and enforce a certain type of thing, we already have a lot of antitrust laws and we already have things to prevent this from happening. And the reason why is because in the past we didn't have those things, something bad happened, and now these things got added because of the bad thing that happened. So crypto is how you get around that. That's the solution. I don't think crypto is the solution. I don't think that you can have anonymous transactions where people don't have complete security of their funds. I understand that people think crypto is really good, and I think that crypto, like, you guys might not know this, I use crypto every day. I do. I use crypto all the time. So I'm not a crypto hater, but I don't think that this should be like the norm. I think, honestly, these companies need to just follow the law and not act like cartels. It's very simple, actually.
Said, bad take from US-based card companies. Trying to force an entire country to censor a major part of their cultural identity will just force Japan to seek a possible home-sourced card company, which will lead to other non-Japanese sites to utilize them as well to avoid censorship.
Exactly.
What's worse is that the censorship they're trying to influence into effect isn't the normal one we're familiar with, where only the versions of anime and manga for specific countries are altered.
Yeah.
What these people want is for these products to be censored right at the source, meaning even the original versions of anime and manga being distributed in Japan would be...
That's the real problem. Because, like, I think that, like, if the Chinese government says, you know, you have to censor this if you want to sell it in our country, I think that's totally fair. I do, because it's a country, no company should be able to supersede a country's laws. It's not even a question. It's like the terms of service or the value or the mission statement of this company supersedes the law of that country. It's ridiculous. Of course that's not true. It's like banning art. Yeah.
Heavily censored. This is a huge slap in the face, not only to the whole freedom of expression privilege for creators, but also Japanese culture in general. These card companies have done this before with platforms like Pixiv and DL Site, removing themselves from those sites until certain content which they deem is inappropriate is removed.
Yeah, see, that's the problem. Like, what gives them the right to exercise editorial control over the content that's on there? Censorship is stupid, and yeah, I think it's very stupid.
Fans are even trying to make light of the situation by claiming that the world is now similar to Shimoneta, an anime world where all forms of adult things were banned. Credit card companies actually hold a lot of power because they monopolize the use of online and card-based transactions. So basically, if you wish to make a payment to any sites, including anime and manga sites, it most often has to go through them, which is why a situation like this, where they pull away from a company, would mean that the company has no way of making any money. And thus, the company is forced to shut down, all based on an unfair imposition of Western ideologies on Japanese media.
See, here's the thing, is that it actually doesn't have anything to do with ideologies at all. What it has to do is these companies acting collectively to move a certain company out of the space. Like, whether it's censoring for, any reason, whether it's denying service for any reason, when all of the companies unilaterally move in one direction, they are behaving like they are colluding and like a cartel. That's the reason. That's the problem. It doesn't matter like, oh yeah, boobs and like, Demon Slayer. Nobody gives a shit about that. That's not the point. The point is the action in itself is fundamentally bad. It's corporation mafia. It is. Like a trust. Yeah. Well, we have a lot of antitrust laws for things like this. Adult content equals more fraud, equals more chargebacks, equals more risk. Who decided that? Who decided that? Did they tell you that?
Fans are going as far as saying that Japan should stop distributing anime and manga to the West entirely, since they're the ones always pushing for censorship. Japan needs to give a big middle finger to the West and completely disconnect from it.
I don't think
These
that'll happen.
were the words of a fan who was rightfully annoyed by the situation.
Yeah.
Some are calling out influential figures like Elon Musk to do something about the situation, given the
I think that he understands the problem because he was instrumental in making PayPal, so he probably gets this.
fact that he openly admitted to being a huge fan of anime and gaming.
Sure.
Fans think that Musk will eventually start his own card companies
Again.
and payment platforms that would eventually crush the ones currently monopolizing the business. Some others feel that crypto should become the premier means of payments, putting the current card companies out of business.
There's not enough accountability with crypto. It's not going to work.
And they believe the outcome of the recently concluded US elections could make that dream a reality. Interestingly, apparently, Brazil used a system called PIX that bypasses cards and bank limitations. If more countries copied this method, those payment processing holders would have zero power across the globe and would be forced to compete with quality of service
Imagine
instead.
that.
Well, these proposed solutions do seem appealing, but it would take a lot of different things to come into place for them to actually work out. Taking notice of this, fans have decided to focus on looking for ways to fight back and punish the card companies directly. Many have suggested starting a war with America or even orchestrating a cyber attack.
Yeah, anime fans talking about starting a fucking war. Okay, yeah, what a fucking surprise there. Pix is goated, yeah.
Against these card companies.
Okay.
This is why I want the entire Western entertainment industry gone, wiped clean from the world.
Okay,
Were
I can't
the
agree with
words
that.
of a fan who needs to be convinced that the Western entertainment industry is no sandcastle that could easily be kicked down. This is maybe a little extreme. Many
Well, it's getting
believe
eroded.
that the best course of action would be to avoid buying from them entirely, and so many fans have resolved to only using pirate sites for consuming anime and manga, instead of paying through these companies. Depending on how things play out, this incident could cause a ripple that would affect Japanese culture and how anime is created. For now, we can only hope things go in favor of Japan and the rest of the anime manga fandom.
Well, it's not about going in favor of Japan or not. It's about going in favor of free expression and free speech without having a unelected cabal of companies acting as a cartel that are behaving as censors for that speech and expression. That's obviously a bad thing. Like, there's no universe where it's not a bad thing.
In other news, Vinland Saga is ending soon?
I still have to watch the rest of that. I've heard from so many people that it's really, really good, but I haven't gotten a chance to see it myself. So yeah, shut the fuck up. There's a cabal. I think that a lot of companies act as a cabal. I think that many of them do, and I think that the reason why they're able to do it is because they're not, it's basically because they're not held accountable. That's really the reason why. I don't know what else to say. Yeah, they'll just stop exporting anime and manga to the West if these card companies become too big of an issue. Well, I don't know what's going to happen. I think that they'll probably censor instead of that. I think that a lot of the big companies will censor, and that way they can maintain... Because the companies care more about money than they do about the integrity of their expression. That's why they're companies and not artists. And so I don't think that's what's going to happen. However... maybe it will. I'm just not sure. There is extreme as the ultra manga fanatics on the other side. Yeah, sure. A lot of people hate anime. They're like, oh my god, anime is this terrible, bad thing. Like, oh, we hate anime. Anime is real bad. It's nuts how more people don't see that. But yeah, I really hope that like this issue, I hope this issue red pills a lot more people about the control that these guys have. I do, because I think this is like, we always talk about like social media Like, oh, social media censorship. You can't say the N-word. Like, okay. But this is actually 1,000 times worse. Do you know about the concept of chargeback or Visa's rule on excessive chargebacks? I know that Visa has different rules. PayPal also has rules like that. I've had to deal with them myself. So yeah, of course I know about all that. Absolutely. Yeah, of course. I say, where does censorship stop? Let's use your imagination. Yeah, exactly. And companies with monopolies like this should not be seen as private companies. Well, they're not. And that's actually what happens. So that's really the, that's how it works. That's what makes sense. This is why I'm with MasterCard. Can't watch uncensored anime. BRB switching my Visa to buy my strange tick pills from the internet. Okay. Yeah, and so I'm really glad to see, more people talking about this. Let me link this guy's channel. I've never watched one of his videos before out of Japan. And I'll link it to you guys. You can give it a like. And this actually video, like, I can respect anybody who can put together a video that is an 8-minute video, right? And so, yeah. Did the guy mention even once that there's AICP that the people are pushing on those sites? No, I don't accept that as a reason to do it, because there's AICP on every other social media website that they do business with. That's just simply not true. So, like, if that's a disqualifying factor, then look at every other social media website out there. I can guarantee you that there is infinitely more of that stuff on TikTok and on Twitter, let's say, or Facebook, than there is on any of these manga websites. So, no, I have no interest in thinking about, like, oh, wow, what about this one bad thing? No, that's absolutely not what's happening. And also, if they're hosting that, then they need to be held accountable by the government. They need to be held accountable by the government, not the fucking private companies. I don't want to have a privately held company with zero fucking accountability making decisions. And this is such, I really wish people would see this. And I hope you guys see this with Elon Musk right now. You guys know I generally like Elon Musk. However, when a bad system is in your favor, it doesn't make the system good. The idea that one billionaire can buy a platform that everybody in the world communicates on and then have ownership of that platform and how that platform is run, very scary. Nobody should be celebrating this. This is very bad. Yeah, and benefits them. Yes, exactly. It definitely is like that. Yeah, you voted for that by voting for Trump? Okay, I forgot about that. People keep reminding me that I voted for Trump in 2024. I forgot. Thanks for I totally forgot that I did that. That's crazy. Thank you very much. Let me go ahead and I'll link you guys the video again. Oh, so it should be collectively owned by 12 billionaires? Well, you know, you probably could be a new viewer. I've been crying about this for like 10 years. I've been complaining about this for years. Years and years and years I've been complaining about this. No, I think that's a problem. Absolutely, it's bad. And I'll even go farther than that. You know that Twitter is owned, about 10% of it is owned by Saudi Arabia. So now you have a company that is, you know, being used for American politics that's owned by a foreign interest. This is dangerous. It's extremely dangerous, and it should be taken seriously. Did not know that? Yeah. Yeah, I'll pull it up real quick, just so you guys know. What percentage of Twitter is owned by... is owned by Saudi? Let's see here. Saudi's second largest investor after Twitter. Who's Twitter's second largest shareholder? Yep, there we go. And... does it show what the percentage is? I'm trying to look and see if I can find a percentage. Values will continue their ownership of Twitter shares valued at $1 billion. It's hard really for me to say. Oh, here we go. The company is 16.9% owned. Yeah, okay, there we go. And so there it is. Al Jazeera is not a credible source? Okay, well, that's fine. You can find any of these other sources. Saudi Prince confirms he will continue ownership of Twitter. Yeah, I mean, that's fine. You don't like this source, look at Reuters, look at X, look at Rolling Stone, Bloomberg, Guardian. Probably not a good example. New Arab, Media Line. You can find any of these. It's very obvious that it's happening. So, yeah, the 16% is not about Twitter. I know that. Yeah, I know that because it was a $1.6 billion. Yeah, and that was the amount of money that the company was worth. But anyway, this is way before Elon. That's what I'm saying, right? And so like having foreign interests that own these companies should be very problematic, and everybody should look at it.